Before my time, a large part of the work was done.
Plasterers, bricklayers, electricians, painters, carpenters, all pulling together to carry out one of the swiftest major construction jobs ever done in Perth. Then began the installation of the first equipment in the studio building at Tuart Hill. While workmen were still active on building construction, around them technicians unpacked and handled the delicate equipment.
Regrettably, I was not at Seven during the most important period for Channel 7, that is during the design, purchasing, installation and commissioning of the original equipment. And I also missed the training in its operation. I believe Jim Carruthers enlisted Les Fordell and his staff from Electronic Industries agents for Pi and Astor for supply and commissioning of equipment. I believe Jen Fisher was the chief engineer of HSV7 and had a great deal of input in the early stages as HSV had installed similar equipment and were operating it. A moment to think of the technology of the time. We were totally reliant on valves for amplifiers, rectifiers and regulators, on image converters for Vidicon and image orthocons, and racks of circuitry full of discrete components, together with miles of cables and connectors. UHF soldered connectors with twisted braids threaded through holes in adapters were our first introduction. Later we had the BNC cables with the soldered centre conductor and screw-on construction, and finally the milestone change to crimped BNC connectors. We became experts in locating, testing and replacing valves, that is, valve jockeys. Hunt's capacitors were also a source of problems in the Pi equipment. Remembering some of the highlights is easy, remembering most difficult, and to reasonably detail, sequence and date them is impossible for me. But with help from some, and Ken McColl in particular, we have selected a number of highlights to talk about. Some sequences may be wrong and some detail less than perfect, so please make some allowances for errors and omissions when you remember things. Telecine is the area where reels of program and commercials on 16mm film are loaded and projected for scanning by Vidicons. This is known as a telecine chain. These included one or two 16mm projectors plus a slide projector, optically multiplexed onto a single Vidicon camera. In addition, there were caption scanners for graphics and test pattern. Before the telecine operation was the scheduling department, whose job was documenting the sequence and duration of all items to be showed and producing multiple copies of a type log for distribution to Master Control, Telecine, the studio and other people. Later on, the segment details were punched into individual IBM data cards, which were sorted into sequence. The cards were then read by the IBM machine, programmed by patch leads on a matrix to decode the details and print the log on a line printer, which produced multiple carbon copies of the log for on-air events. Top copies were good, but bottom copies could be less than perfect. The log then went to the film department, who picked the program film and commercials from the film vault, placing them onto a trolley ready for film makeup. The girls in film makeup would then check and splice together the programs, promotional and commercial films, ready to pass to telecine.
When you were young, you had your own set of values. Values that nothing could change. An ice cream cone was a snow-capped mountain of sheer delight. An autographed baseball was more precious than rubies. And a note from the teacher meant only one thing: disaster. And that's our story tonight on Leave It to Beaver.
Leave It to Beaver. Starring Barbara Billingsley, Hugh Beaumont, Tony Dow, and Jerry Mathers as the Beaver.
All straightforward. Just load up and press the start when asked by Master Control to do so. This is where I started at Channel 7 in December 1959. We soon learnt about the problems and variations to the routine. Film breaks and equipment failure required rapid change and reloading of film on remaining equipment. Content change or mistakes meant locating the correct or new content and commercials in the film vault and, time permitting, splicing them together in the new film sequence and reloading slides if necessary. Equipment repairs, which hopefully would require valve changes, and sometimes there were more extensive problems. Other technical facilities in the original included Studio 2 with Pi 3-inch image orthicon cameras on Mole Richardson pedestals, a fixed lighting grid with Mole Richardson pantographs mounting 2 kilowatt Fresnel spots plus floodlights. The control was upstairs with vision mixing unit, technical director's station and very basic lighting controls in one room. A second room housed the sound mixing unit, about 16 channels, 2 turntables and 2 roller 1/4-inch tape machines. More on studios later. Master Control was very basic with a Pi control desk which proved to be a faithful performer for many years. Apart from the mixer and the standard HMV TV off-air receiver, we had 2 788 14-inch precision monitors for preview and program, and 2 816 general purpose monitors with turntables and a small caption scanner for emergency captions and test pattern. The camera control units were situated behind the Master Control area and used to control and adjust the cameras in the studio for setup, black level, white level, contrast, brightness and gamma.